Hi viewers, welcome to our new video. You might have heard people say that a simple 1-cent coin can be worth more money than a luxury car, or even a house. Some Lincoln wheat cent coins have been talked about in million-dollar conversations, and that's not just exaggeration. Real pennies have shocked the world before. The scary part is this: most people don't even realize they've held these coins in their hands. Today, we're diving into the hidden world of Lincoln wheat cents, where tiny details can completely change a coin's value. Some look completely ordinary, but collectors know that the right date, the right mint mark, or a small minting mistake can turn 1 cent into thousands, or more. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 rare Lincoln wheat cent coins, explore why people talk about massive prices, and slowly break down what actually makes these coins valuable. But don't skip ahead, because before we reveal the truth behind the million-dollar talk, you need to understand the history, the design, and the hidden errors that most people overlook. One small detail could mean the difference between pocket change and a serious collector treasure. So stay till the end, because the last coin might surprise you the most. Let's start with our first coin. You might have heard whispers that a simple Lincoln penny, something you've probably held dozens of times, could secretly be worth hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million. Stories circulate about ordinary people discovering life-changing coins in jars, drawers, or old wallets. And today, that story points directly to the 1997 D. Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin. A coin so common it's overlooked, yet surrounded by unbelievable value talk. Is this penny really hiding massive worth, or is there a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered? Stay with me till the very end, because we're going to peel back every layer before revealing the reality. The 1997 D penny features the iconic Lincoln Memorial design, one of the most famous designs in American coin history. On the front is Abraham Lincoln, a portrait introduced back in 1909 and still admired for its dignity and detail. Lincoln's image has appeared on the U.S. penny longer than any real person has appeared on any other U.S. coin. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, with United States of America at the top and 1 cent at the bottom. Look closely and you'll notice something incredible. Inside the memorial, you can actually see the statue of Lincoln seated. That tiny detail makes this one of the most intricate coin designs ever used on U.S. currency. By 1997, this design had already been in circulation for nearly 4 decades. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was first introduced in 1959, replacing the wheat cent design, and it remained in use until 2008. During this long run, the U.S. Mint changed how pennies were made. Earlier pennies were mostly solid copper, but starting in 1982, pennies, including the 1997 D, were struck using a zinc core with a thin copper coating, weighing 2.50 grams. The D mint mark tells us this coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which struck hundreds of millions of pennies that year. Because so many were made, most 1997 D pennies are very common. In heavily circulated condition, the value is usually just 1 cent to 2 cents. If it's slightly better but still circulated, it might reach 3 cents to 5 cents. A bright, clean example with little to no wear, what collectors call uncirculated, can sell for 25 cents to $1. Already, you can see how condition alone can multiply the value by many times. Now let's go deeper, because this is where collectors really start paying attention. A high-quality uncirculated 1997 D penny graded around MS65 can be worth $2 to $5. Step up to MS66, and the value can rise to $10 or more. A truly sharp, nearly perfect example graded MS67 or higher becomes genuinely scarce, and those have sold for $20, $30, $50, and sometimes even higher, depending on demand. But the real excitement, the kind that fuels big money stories, comes from mint errors. Some 1997 D pennies were struck off-center, meaning part of the design is missing. Depending on how dramatic the error is, these coins can be worth $10, $25, $50, and in extreme cases, over $100. Broad strike errors, where the coin spreads out without a proper rim, typically sell for $15 to $75. Clipped planchets, where a curved or straight piece of the coin is missing due to a minting mistake, often bring $5 to $40, and sometimes more if the clip is large and clean. Then there are doubling errors. If genuine doubling appears on words like liberty, in God we trust, or the date, not damage, but true mint doubling, values can range from $20 to $100 plus, depending on strength and collector interest. Zinc-related errors such as plating blisters, split plating, or exposed zinc usually sell for $1 to $10, though dramatic examples can reach $20 or more. So let's pause here, because by now you can see the full range. A 1997 D penny can be worth 1 to 5 cents in normal circulation, $0.25 to $1 uncirculated, $2 to $5 in strong mint condition, $10 to $50 plus in top grades, $5 to $100 plus with real mint errors. And now, it's time to talk about the million-dollar claims. Here's the honest reality. There is no verified, officially recognized 1997 D Lincoln Memorial penny that has ever sold for $1 million. No major auction houses. No certified examples. No confirmed records. The million-dollar talk usually comes from exaggerated stories, confusion with ultra-rare coins from other years, or misunderstood mint errors. But that doesn't mean the excitement is fake. It means the truth is more grounded and more realistic. The real thrill of the 1997 D penny isn't that it's secretly worth millions. It's that an ordinary coin can still surprise you, and sometimes be worth hundreds or even thousands of times its face value if the right factors come together. So if you own a 1997 D Lincoln Memorial penny, don't ignore it. Examine it closely. Weigh it. Look for errors. Check the details. Because while it may not buy you a mansion, the right one can absolutely be worth far more than 1 cent, and discovering that is what keeps collectors searching every single day. And that is the complete truth behind the 1997 D Lincoln Memorial penny. Let's move on our second coin in today's series. You might have heard incredible stories about ordinary-looking 1-cent coins turning into million-dollar discoveries, and the 1946 Lincoln wheat cent is one of those coins that often gets pulled into that conversation. People talk about old copper pennies hiding unbelievable wealth, about tiny details making the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. But how much of that talk is real, and how much is exaggeration? Before we uncover the truth, stay with me till the end, because the real value of this 1946 wheat cent is far more interesting than most people realize, even if it doesn't quite reach the million-dollar mark. The design of the 1946 Lincoln wheat cent is timeless and instantly recognizable. On the front, Abraham Lincoln appears facing right, his portrait calm and dignified. This design was created by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909 to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left you'll find "Liberty," and to the right sits the date 1946. On the reverse, the design is simple but symbolic. 2 wheat ears curve along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum across the top. These wheat stalks represented prosperity, agriculture, and national strength, which is why collectors today still feel a strong emotional connection to wheat pennies. Historically, the 1946 wheat cent comes from a very important moment in American history. It was struck just after World War II, during a period when the United States was rebuilding its economy and everyday life was slowly returning to normal. Copper had returned as the main metal for pennies after the unusual steel cents of 1943. The 1946 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, giving it intrinsic metal value and that warm brown color collectors love. Millions of these coins were minted and circulated widely, meaning they were heavily used in daily life, which is why finding one in excellent condition today is far less common than finding a worn example. Now let's get into the part everyone truly cares about: money, errors, and values in real dollar terms. In heavily circulated condition, where Lincoln's face shows wear and the wheat lines are faint, a 1946 Lincoln wheat cent is usually worth 5 cents to 15 cents. Even at this level, it's already worth more than face value due to copper content alone. In average circulated condition, with readable details and moderate wear, values typically rise to 25 cents to 50 cents. Coins in this range are very common among collectors who are filling albums and building date sets. In lightly circulated condition, where Lincoln's hair details and wheat stock lines are still fairly sharp, the value usually ranges from $1 to $2. These coins start attracting more serious collector interest, especially if the color is attractive and original. Now, if the coin is uncirculated, meaning it was never used in daily commerce and still has its original mint luster, values increase dramatically. A brown uncirculated example can be worth $5 to $10. If the coin retains red-brown color, values can reach $10 to $20. A fully red, uncirculated 1946 wheat cent, especially one that has been professionally graded, can sell for $25 to $50, and sometimes more depending on eye appeal. But the real excitement begins when we talk about errors and varieties, because this is where prices can jump from small dollars to serious money. Some 1946 wheat cents were struck with off-center errors, which can be worth $50 to $200 depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing due to a cutting mistake, can sell for $30 to $150. Die cracks and cut errors, where the metal bulges due to damaged dies, often bring $20 to $100. More valuable still are double die errors, especially if the doubling is strong and visible on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile. A true double die 1946 wheat cent can sell for $200, $500, or even over $1,000 if the doubling is bold and confirmed by grading services. At the very top of the value range, exceptional uncirculated coins with near-perfect strike, flawless surfaces, and blazing red color have sold at auction for several $100s, and in rare cases, close to $1,000. These are the absolute best examples known, and they are extremely difficult to find. So now, after fully understanding every possible value, from just a few cents all the way up to thousands of dollars, it's time to address the truth behind the million-dollar stories. A normal 1946 Lincoln wheat cent is not worth millions of dollars. Those claims usually come from confusion with ultra-rare experimental coins, misidentified dates, or exaggerated online stories. However, the reason these stories never disappear is because some pennies really have sold for massive amounts, and that keeps hope alive for collectors everywhere. The 1946 wheat cent is valuable not because it's mythical, but because it combines history, copper content, collectible demand, and the possibility, however small, of rare errors. And that possibility is exactly why people continue checking every old penny they find. Let's move on our third coin in today's series. You might have heard that a simple 1944 1-cent coin could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Some say it's the kind of penny that can turn up in an old drawer, a forgotten jar, or a family collection and suddenly be linked to six-figure or even million-dollar conversations. The 1944 Lincoln wheat cent is one of the most talked-about pennies of all time, and that alone makes people pause when they see the date. But before jumping to conclusions, stay with me till the end, because the truth behind this coin's value is layered with history, rarity, mistakes, and a lot of misunderstanding. The design of the 1944 Lincoln wheat cent is one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. On the front, Abraham Lincoln faces right, his expression calm and serious, symbolizing unity and leadership. This portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner and introduced in 1909, marking the first time a real historical figure appeared on a U.S. circulating coin. Above Lincoln's head, the words, "In God We Trust," stretch across the top. To the left sits Liberty, and to the right, the date 1944. Just below the date, you may or may not see a small letter. No letter means Philadelphia, a D means Denver, and an S means San Francisco. On the reverse, two wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. This wheat design symbolizes abundance and strength and is one of the reasons collectors feel such a strong emotional pull toward wheat pennies. The history behind the 1944 wheat cent is where the real story begins. This coin was minted in the middle of World War II, during a time when the United States was pushing every resource to its limits. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, pennies were made of steel to save copper for the war effort. That experiment caused confusion, rust problems, and public frustration. By 1944, the mint returned to copper, but not freshly mined copper. Much of the metal used to strike 1944 pennies came from recycled brass shell casings collected from military training grounds. That means many 1944 wheat cents literally contain metal that once served the war effort, giving them a unique place in American history. Now let's move into the details that truly matter to collectors, the values, the errors, and the conditions that turn curiosity into serious money talk. In very worn, heavily circulated condition, where Lincoln's face is flat and the wheat stalks are barely visible, a 1944 wheat cent is typically worth 5 cents to 10 cents. This value is almost entirely based on copper content. In average circulated condition, with visible lettering and moderate wear, values usually rise to 25 cents to 75 cents. These coins are extremely common and were used heavily during and after the war. In lightly circulated condition, where Lincoln's hair, jawline, and coat details remain fairly sharp, values increase to $1 to $3. Coins in this range are popular among collectors who want higher quality examples without paying premium prices. Uncirculated examples are where prices start to feel more serious. A brown uncirculated 1944 wheat cent can sell for $5 to $15. Red-brown uncirculated coins often sell in the $15 to $30 range. Fully red uncirculated examples, especially those with strong luster and no spots, commonly bring $40 to $100, and in top-tier graded condition, they can exceed $150. Now we reach the most exciting category: mint errors and rare varieties. Off-center strikes can sell for $50 to $300, depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Clipped planchet errors often sell for $30 to $200. Die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks usually bring $25 to $150, depending on size and visibility. Double die errors are far more valuable. A genuine double die 1944 wheat cent, especially with strong doubling on the date or lettering, can sell for $300 to $1,500, and sometimes more if the doubling is bold and the coin is in high grade. But the coin that truly fuels the wild value talk is the 1944 steel wheat cent. This is not a rumor, it's real. A very small number of 1944 pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover steel blanks from 1943. These coins stick to magnets and look silver gray instead of copper. Authentic examples have sold for $75,000 to over $400,000, depending on condition and certification. This single error is the main reason the 1944 penny is constantly associated with massive prices. Now, after covering every realistic value, from a few cents to hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's time to face the truth behind the million-dollar stories. A normal copper 1944 Lincoln wheat cent is not worth millions of dollars. Those claims usually come from exaggeration, confusion, or misidentified coins. However, the existence of rare steel errors proves that extraordinary value is possible, even if extremely rare. The 1944 wheat cent remains one of the most fascinating pennies ever made. It connects wartime history, copper value, collector demand, and the thrill of rare mistakes, all packed into a tiny 1-cent coin. And that's exactly why people keep checking their pennies, hoping that one day, luck and history collide in their hands. Let's move on our fourth coin in today's series. You might have heard that some old 1-cent coins from the 1940s are secretly worth unbelievable amounts of money, sometimes even spoken about in the same breath as million-dollar discoveries. The 1945 Lincoln wheat cent often enters these conversations because of its wartime timing and its connection to some of the most valuable pennies ever made. But is this coin really one of those hidden fortunes? Before we reach the truth, stay with me till the end, because the real value of the 1945 wheat cent unfolds slowly, layer by layer, and it's far more interesting than a simple yes or no. The design of the 1945 Lincoln wheat cent follows the classic and beloved wheat penny style. On the front, Abraham Lincoln faces right, his portrait steady and thoughtful. This design, created by Victor David Brenner, first appeared in 1909 and became one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left is "Liberty," and to the right is the date 1945. Below the date, you may see a mint mark. No letter means Philadelphia, a D means Denver, and an S means San Francisco. On the reverse, 2 wheat ears curve along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum across the top. This design represents growth, strength, and survival, ideas that perfectly match the era in which this coin was made. The history behind the 1945 wheat cent makes it especially meaningful. This coin was minted during the final year of World War II. While soldiers were returning home and the war was coming to an end, these pennies were circulating in everyday American life. Like the 1944 penny, the 1945 wheat cent is made of 95% copper, much of it sourced from recycled wartime materials. This gives the coin not just monetary value, but emotional and historical weight. It represents the closing chapter of a global conflict and the beginning of a new era. Now let's talk about values, slowly, carefully, and in full detail, because this is where excitement builds. In heavily worn condition, where Lincoln's portrait is smooth and the wheat stalks are faint. A 1945 Lincoln wheat cent is typically worth 5 cents to 10 cents, mostly due to copper content. In average circulated condition, where the date and lettering are clear but wear is visible, values usually fall between 25 cents and 75 cents. These coins are common and were heavily used, making this the most frequently encountered value range. In lightly circulated condition, where Lincoln's hair, coat, and facial details are still sharp, the value increases to $1 to $3. Coins in this range attract collectors who want cleaner examples without paying premium prices. Uncirculated examples are where values begin to rise more noticeably. A brown uncirculated 1945 wheat cent generally sells for $5 to $15. Red-brown uncirculated examples often sell for $15 to $35. Fully red uncirculated coins with strong luster can sell for $40 to $100, and exceptional high-grade examples have reached $150 or more at auction. Now comes the part that fuels excitement: errors and rare varieties. Off-center strikes can sell for $50 to $250, depending on how dramatic the error is. Clipped planchet errors usually sell for $30 to $200. Die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks often bring $25 to $150, depending on size and location. Doubled die errors are much more valuable. A genuine doubled die 1945 wheat cent, especially one showing strong doubling on the date or lettering, can sell for $300 to $1,200, sometimes even higher if the coin is in strong condition and professionally certified. There is also a rare and fascinating category that adds to the 1945 pennies mystique. A very small number of 1945 steel cents are rumored and debated among collectors, often confused with altered coins. While authenticated examples are extremely rare and controversial, the discussion alone keeps the 1945 penny tied to high-value conversations. Verified wartime transitional errors from this era can reach tens of thousands of dollars, which is why collectors never stop checking. Now, after fully exploring every possible value, from just a few cents to potentially five-figure sums, it's time to address the reality behind the million-dollar talk. A normal 1945 Lincoln wheat cent made of copper is not worth millions of dollars. Those stories usually come from exaggeration, confusion with ultra-rare errors, or misidentified coins. But the reason the talk never dies is because rare mistakes really do exist, and history has proven that small pennies can sometimes carry massive value. The 1945 wheat cent stands as a powerful reminder of the end of World War II, the return to peace, and the enduring appeal of copper coinage. It may not be a guaranteed fortune, but it holds history, collectability, and the thrilling possibility that keeps collectors searching. Let's move on our fifth coin in today's series. You might have heard people say that even the last few Lincoln wheat cents can still hide shocking value, sometimes spoken about in dramatic million-dollar conversations. The 1957 D. Lincoln wheat cent often surprises people because it comes from the very end of the wheat penny era, making many wonder if this coin is quietly more valuable than it looks. Before jumping to conclusions, stay with me till the end, because the real worth of this coin builds slowly, and understanding it fully is what separates hype from reality. The design of the 1957 D. Lincoln wheat cent is the classic design that had already become deeply familiar to Americans by the 1950s. On the front, Abraham Lincoln faces right, his portrait still carrying the same dignity it had since 1909. Victor David Brenner's design had now been in use for nearly half a century. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left is "Liberty," and to the right is the date 1957. Just below the date is the D mint mark, showing this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. On the reverse, the iconic wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum across the top. This was one of the final years this beloved wheat design would ever be used. The history behind the 1957 D wheat cent is tied to the closing chapter of an era. By 1957, the United States was well into the post-war economic boom. The wheat penny design was nearing its end, and just 1 year later, in 1959, the reverse would change to the Lincoln Memorial. These final wheat cents were minted in huge numbers, meant for everyday use, with no one at the time imagining how collectible they would become decades later. Like most wheat cents of this era, the 1957 D is made of 95% copper, giving it both intrinsic metal value and long-term collectability. Now let's slowly break down the values in full detail, because this is where curiosity turns into real understanding. In heavily circulated condition, where Lincoln's face is worn and the wheat stalks lack detail, a 1957 D wheat cent is usually worth 3 cents to 8 cents, mostly because of copper content. In average circulated condition, with readable lettering and moderate wear, values typically range from 10 cents to 25 cents. These coins are very common and were widely used in everyday transactions. In lightly circulated condition, where Lincoln's hair and coat details remain sharp, values rise to 50 cents to $1.50. Coins in this range are popular with collectors completing wheat cent sets. Uncirculated examples begin to show stronger value. A brown uncirculated 1957 D wheat cent generally sells for $3 to $7. Red-brown uncirculated examples often sell for $8 to $20. Fully red uncirculated coins with strong luster commonly bring $25 to $60, and top-quality examples graded at the highest levels have sold for $100 to $200 plus. Now we enter the category that keeps hope alive: mint errors and varieties. Off-center strikes can sell for $40 to $200, depending on how dramatic the error is. Clipped planchet errors often sell for $25 to $150. Die cracks, cuds, and retained die breaks usually bring $20 to $120, depending on size and visibility. Double die errors add even more excitement. A genuine double die 1957 D wheat cent, especially with visible doubling on the date or lettering, can sell for $150 to $800, and higher if the coin is in strong condition and professionally certified. There is also a famous error tied closely to this year: repunched mint marks. Because mint marks were added by hand during this era, some 1957 D pennies show a clear repunched D. These can sell for $25 to $300, depending on strength and condition. Now, after covering every realistic value, from just a few cents to hundreds of dollars, it's time to face the truth behind the million-dollar talk. A normal 1957 D Lincoln wheat cent is not worth millions of dollars. These stories usually come from exaggeration or confusion with ultra-rare earlier wheat cents. However, what makes this coin special is that it represents the final stretch of the wheat penny era, and collectors value it for history, copper content, and the possibility of errors. The 1957 D wheat cent may not turn someone into a millionaire, but it carries the weight of history, the charm of the wheat design, and the excitement that keeps collectors checking every old penny they find. And sometimes, that thrill alone is worth far more than 1 cent.